Welcome to the FosEra.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs winds down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But the summer is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. Something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And where we get started today is the FosEra. If you've been noticing on social media, it's the new branding of UCLA football. It's a whole new branding. I've already been spending my time discussing about how UCLA is trying to go over a rebrand, a rebuild, if you will. Different rebrands and rebuilds come out of different things, right? If you think about how other schools in the former Pac-12, now a couple going to the Big Ten, like a Washington went to the lowest of lows, lower than UCLA ever went, and still made it to a national championship game much sooner. That's a difference of a rebuild. But still, UCLA is wanting to rebuild fan excitement. Because in the Rose Bowl, it deserves to be a lot more support. Then you've also got the likes of a UCLA team that needs to get better. So you're reloading. You're getting talent. On the defense, they're reloading. On the offense, they're going over different schematics. And most importantly, it's a rebrand. So how is UCLA doing that in the FosEra, right? How are they doing that for this team that has found different ways to get better over time? For, a team that's saying, hey, let's get better and get rocking and rolling. So welcome to the FosEra. What does that mean? We're going to be excited over the youth. We're going to be high energy, high tempo practices, high energy, high tempo spring game. Do so recruiting wise, have an actual brand. Yes, the biggest Chip Kelly recruiting brand pitch was boom, boom. Was that like you dropping a deuce? Was that you dropping the ball? What was that, Chip? What was that? Well, now we know it was just lack of enthusiasm and care to be the UCLA football head coach. For Foss, it's literally, let's bring this into a new era of UCLA football, which the last couple of years under Jim Mora, these years under Chip Kelly, which weren't the most terrible years ever, but obviously something's gone wrong if we all wanted him fired after 6 years, especially after that loss at the ASU game at the Rose Bowl. DeShaun Foster is bringing something new, and he's emphasizing the big things and the little things. Remember, UCLA, all right, they spent all that NIL money in the winter of 23 to flip Dante Moore. Now, it didn't work out. But then a year after that, then you get another recruiting class. You see DeShaun Foster goes after a big quarterback like Madden Iamaleava. Coming out of Downey, local product. This is a guy UCLA should certainly be in the Final 3 10 out of 10 times. Final 4 10 out of 10 times if they really want the kid. And what does UCLA do? They go get the kid under DeShaun Foster. I don't think they get that kid if Chip Kelly is leading the recruitment. I don't even know if they even take a look in his direction truly to get into his top 10. But they got him, and they got him committed early. When UCLA needed safety help. This year, they're going to be using 26, 27-year-old safeties who can hopefully do well and do a lot of good things like the Addisons of the world. But they don't need to go to the portal for every big spot in the secondary or a quarterback. And I know you need to utilize it in this year's day and age, but you got to recruit somebody super good at some point at a premium position. And what else do? They get a kid from Pittsburgh, California. The two best recruits UCLA has this year, depending on what composite you're using, they're in their backyard or in their home state. Oh, wait, it gets better. They need a linebacker. Weston Port. He's a SoCal kid. I know San Juan Capistrano is no Los Angeles, and that's deep Orange County. But the FosEra says my top 3 kids in my first class that doesn't involve a transfer portal window or taking over for a coach, my 3 top kids currently are guys in SoCal. The rebrand, the FosEra, involves bringing the community together and going into the community to find the talents. And not just any talent, like, all right, this kid's in the backyard. He might have been a West Coaster once, and he's they're finding the elite talents, the guys that can develop and potentially be low-level 5-stars, right? Progress in those final years. And it gets even better. When you look at the tight end, they got Noah Flores, who is projected to potentially be a 4-star, currently a 3-star at Washington. And then look after that. You've got California, DB running back Carson Cox, Karan Jabari Jr. So when you see UCLA, 5 of their 6 top guys of their current top 12 commits are guys in their backyard. That is the FosEra. Rebrand, rebuild, reload with the kids around you. That is how, this isn't like Iowa who has to go find the talent. This isn't something nowhere, right? We're going to throw money and hope the kid comes, which is working a lot nowadays. UCLA, Los Angeles can recruit itself. But Chip Kelly proved it couldn't, right? Jim Moore was getting top recruits, but now the FosEra is the rebrand. Let's forget the booms. Let's forget all that. Let's get excited while we have to deal with maybe a little bit of a waiting period for every single commitment, which is a little bit annoying with guys sneaking under the radar, sneaking in as a last-second transfer portal addition, as we saw with the D lineman and an O lineman coming in for the 24 class. UCLA is getting after it. And with their latest commitments, a Texas product who does have some West Coast ties, I know you're going to throw some jokes my way, but UCLA, reading Brill Report, seeing how it was all posted, they got the top long snapper in the country. So when you go from finding Cal's best kicker, bringing him down to the portal, that was more Chip Kelly-esque. Now you're going to emphasize special teams, which was kind of forgotten about when UCLA has had good returners. Could have had capable kickers and long snappers and punters. And now UCLA, after having their long snapper taken from them, I believe went to Georgia, they've got Alakilangi Moatuatui Jr., if I got that correct, hopefully not. But that is the top long snapper, according to Rubio Long Snapping, who does a lot of the long snapping development, recruiting, setting the bar for who are the top long snappers. That is a guy who just committed the day this podcast is being recorded in late June of 24. So UCLA is emphasizing the big details, the little details, offense, defense, premium secondary positions, premium in the quarterback with Madden Iyame coming to town. And then still, you're finding a long snapper who was in California. You're like, wait a minute, this is a talented kid. Let's bring him in. Create some competition. If every kid you recruit is from California, you're still going to have a darn good football team. If they're in California at some point, they're probably good football players. Any sport, generally speaking, you're going to have a good player. And UCLA doesn't have a hockey program, so I guess you don't have to worry about it because it's not exactly a hockey breeding ground in Southern California. But just about every other sport, DeShaun Foster and all the other coaches can go recruit in their backyard, and that is what he is emphasizing, rebranding, say, let's do it together. This is moving on. What is he doing the first thing to go to recruits? This isn't insights. This isn't me sitting in the room or talking to recruits, but it's fairly obvious. This isn't what we were used to be. I'm saying hello, welcome, come inside our campus, come see our facilities, which are still top-notch. Obviously, they're not going to have 3D things popping out, money being thrown every which direction, but UCLA is doing what they need to do to compete recruiting-wise. Welcome to the FosEra. I know that recruiting number has dipped a little bit. They got 12 hard commits for the 25 class and some good recruits that I think can make a difference in their first full Big Ten recruiting class under DeShaun Foster. Now, the X's and O's, we wait. The fan excitement, I can't wait to see what that first home game at the Rose Bowl looks like against Indiana when they play their first official Big Ten game, which still sounds weird. It won't get old. It won't get any newer. It'll be weird, but we're going to be weird together in the FosEra. In a new era, though, we're going to talk about the likes of Adem Bona and his new NBA home and how that's a fit for the former Bruin turn NBA draftee on Locked On UCLA. Let's talk to you about eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle while leveling it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered because they've got over 120 million plus parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you're guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, going on into this second segment for Locked On UCLA, we're talking about Adem Bona, who is now a 76er. He's going to Philly, and Bona, I think, has got quite the home in Philadelphia, right? I know they've got the Embiid, they've got their big man, they've got a good team that, if wasn't hurt, was certainly capable of being a top 2 seed in the East. You know, a top 2 seed in the East, and very well, like all those teams in the Eastern Conference, could have competed with Boston if their literal star player or top 2 starting players or scoring options weren't hurt. From the Knicks to the Sixers to the Pacers, every single team, the Heat could have given them a game if their top players were not hurt. The Cavaliers, literally up and down. We can have a whole talking to about that. But the Sixers, you're going to get elite defensive talent when it comes to the Energizer Bunny in Adem Bona. Remember, we talked about this. It probably would have serviced him better to stay an extra year, but that's neither here nor there. Amari Bailey, had to fight. Jules Bernard has had to fight. Johnny Juzang has had to fight. Adem Bona, I think he's going to have an easier but still similar fight to those guys. Maybe end up looking like Jaime Jaquez Jr. After it's all said and done. He probably won't make an all-NBA rookie team. He most likely won't turn into an NBA Rookie of the Year top 3 potential. But this is a guy who will certainly be a serviceable NBA option. He could have gone pro after year 1, could have gone pro after year 2, because he's still got the hardware. He's got the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, all-freshman team. This is a guy that is elite and still would have been dominant if he came back to UCLA, would have asked probably for the most NIL money on the team. Yes, you brought a lot of NIL dollars to go get transfer guys. If Bona was seeing potential deals signed or that fake scholarship that they awarded, which is literally just NIL dollars to fund a scholarship and a roster spot that really isn't even there, Adem Bona would probably ask if he was still on UCLA and should for the most money. Well, now he's a Sixer. He's making pro money. He's not going to be dealing with classes. And even if he doesn't end up a Sixer, he is currently a second-round steal, in my opinion. This is a guy who, high energy, elite defensively, graded very well. I was reading the Jonathan Givney article from ESPN about how he graded out to be the steal of a draft if you drafted him as your center. Undersized center, but a center nonetheless as a 6'8 center. Very undersized in the NBA. Could do well because he's got a great explosiveness, elite talent. And if you turn him into a pick-and-roll weapon like he should be used in the NBA, where the paint's wide open because of the defensive 3 seconds in the key, there's no guys that are going to be stiff and slow waiting there. Who's going to have the better career, Zach Edey or Adem Bona? Well, I'd put my money on Adem Bona. Although Edey is going to have something to say, being so big, so powerful, and having been in college for so long as an elite option getting to the NCAA championship game this last year. But Bona, man, he's a force to be reckoned with. Defense alone, he's going to get minutes in an NBA game, multiple NBA games. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes him a minute, although he could be rim-rocking in the summer league, enthusiastic and energetic in the preseason, and will certainly lead the Sixers in a lot of categories in those preseason and summer league games. Now, to make a roster and not be a two-way guy that bounces back and forth and has to wait till December or January, dare I say February, before he makes his debut, it will be, I think, hopefully in the early portion of fall, closer to October, November, where we see Adem Bona on the roster. This is a winning type player. Although, unlike Jaquez, he has not developed into a consistent on-the-floor guy. His problem, as we know as UCLA fans, a guy who could get to foul trouble, do a lot of things, but this is a winning NBA player. If you want to be a winning NBA franchise, you draft guys like Adem Bona, who will help your locker room get better. He will just be a smile, excitement. He is the NBA terms of a sight for sore eyes because he is coming out to be excitable, pick and roll, I imagine you do a pick and roll with Embiid and Bona. I don't even know how that would look like. A big man and a big man, with the shorter big man being the roller. Of course, you would do a guard pick and pop with the likes of Embiid popping after a screen that's probably moving like all big men have. But you're going to have a different option because Bona's not going to be able to shoot. He's a guy that is excited and ready to play. We all know this as UCLA fans, but I think still is a perfect fit for a Philly team that can have more size, energy, and ask a lot defensively out of Bona, who can hopefully make a roster and should, and be a long, I think, 10-year vet, 8-year vet. Might have to bounce around a couple of stops. Might be a guy that's a veteran on a winning team later in his career to win a championship or be that, key piece, as I'd like to liken him to a similar spot that the Mavericks use, one of two centers between the Gaffords and the Liveleys of the world, undersized, but jumping, getting rebounds, getting blocks, and getting dunks. That is what Bona will thrive at with the perfect pick-and-roll type guard, which would have been fun with a Luka or any other guard or ball-dominant player in this league. But he is someone who is a sight to behold. It will immediately improve your defense and save so many guards being blown past in this day and age where guards have ridiculous handles, can get to the cup whenever they want. And when the defense has to rotate as well as they do, Bona, blindside blocks, recovery defense is his strong suit. He might pick up 4 fouls in 5 minutes, but I think he is suited to an NBA game that is free-flowing. It thrives on explosive agility, and that's all the things that Bona has. So I think he will thrive. He's not going to go put up 20 and 15 or something crazy, but he is going to be perfect if he fits and jumps into his role like I would assume he does, better than anybody, better than NBA. And we're excited for Bona to get his NBA second-round draftee smile. He's excited to go to Philly. Can't wait to see how his career blossoms. Speaking of blossoming, the newcomers for UCLA men's basketball for we're going to talk about it in just a moment to wrap up Locked On UCLA. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. Although, unless you're a baseball fan, then you get lots of games. I don't know why people are whining and complaining because the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, cruising on in the final segment of Locked On UCLA today. Let's get ready to rock and roll. Remember, UCLA has so many newcomers this year, it's hard to keep track of. 8 of which are on scholarship or quote-unquote being paid to be there. Let's remember that. What does that mean? You've got 6 transfer portal spots. You've got 2 true freshmen coming in. One of those spots is being funded by NIL money, which is literally the stopping short of paying someone to be there to go to school for a year maybe and play basketball with returners. But it doesn't include the preferred walk-on Christian Horry, Robert Horry's son, where UCLA has elite talent to come over and prepare and get things cooking in the recruiting cycle. What does that mean? Well, UCLA has posted about their newcomers, where the Bruins, they've got 8 of them. Well, they're still waiting on Dominic Harris. He wasn't in that picture that they tweeted. But no need to fear. 7 of them are on campus and ready. Horry's right there. Now UCLA is finding ways to get their roster together. I'm going to spend all summer finding different places where you might find a scenario where this guy is in, that guy is in, but we don't need to worry because the newcomers have arrived. The new day and age where the international guys, I think we might see 1 to 2 every 2 years. Although here, let's think about this really quick before we get into this big point about the newcomers. If you looked at the international players drafted, a lot of them were from the international waters, right? A lot of them were from France. But I guess the point is the top players this year in the NBA draft were from international players. They were international players. And let's not forget some of the top players, Victor Wembanyama, Luka, some of those names, they didn't play college ball. They either went to the G League, the G League Ignite, they came directly to the NBA. They were right there, ready to rock and roll. So remember, I think UCLA in the future will toe the line between international and domestic. But now Mick Cronin has proven this offseason this isn't going to be a one-time thing. He proved his point by completely overhauling his roster, like some coaches like to do. Be like, nah, I'm going to change this, get 8 new players, 7 new guys. We'll be rolling by March, and we'll go on a deep run. We probably won't be a number 1 seed, but we'll be a 7 seed that gets into the Final Four, Elite 8, and beats your 2 seed because our team is better at that point. Mick Cronin is going to have his team ready for defense, prided himself on getting three-point shooting this year and scoring options at every single spot, so there isn't any shortage of spots or options to go to, whether it's elite athleticism in the paint, where you have Kyle replacing Bona. You've got Daly Jr. off the bench who's going to be able to shoot the three, get points down low. You got Bilodeau who can score and shoot it. Harris, when he eventually comes in, can shoot it. Got multiple options, including a preferred walk-on, which has something to be spoken for, I think, nowadays in this day and age, to take a preferred walk-on spot at UCLA. I wonder what that means for Christian Horry. Yet UCLA comes in with their newcomers ready to rock and roll. And remember, they got the North Carolinas. They got probably the Gonzagas and the Arizonas all on neutral floors, road games, or completely away from their home gym, most likely, with still a top-tier Big Ten schedule. So this team is going to be tested. Last year, they had some tough games. They had the Maui Invitational, 2 tough games, and then they had to play Chaminade, the only game they won. This team is ready for prime time. They will be ready for prime time. I think they're definitely skilled enough and should certainly be flirting with Elite 8 Final Four preseason prediction territory with what they've got. Now this is up to a coaching job that won't be easy, but Cronin's done part 1 of his job, which is retool, reload, rebuild the roster with talent that rivals his Final Four or Pac-12 regular season champion winning squad a couple of years ago. And this is the team that is going to find its way, I think, later this season with the newcomers coming in. So they've arrived. And when will the team arrive? I'm not sure they'll necessarily win the Big Ten. I think they'll be in the upper quadrants. I'll go do research and figure it out. Obviously, the Bruins have a top-tier elite transfer portal class. And the 2 recruits they got, Trent Perry, borderline 5-star, and Freeney has worked his way since committing into a solid 4-star recruit, mixed in with all these top-tier commits like the Kobe Johnsons of the world, Sky Clarks of the world, to mix in with more talent like the works of Dylan Andrews, Stefanovic, Brandon and Dylan Williams. Brandon Williams, Brandon Williams, and Devin Williams, to make this team as good as it possibly can be. And they're here, and the Bruins are ready to play in Big Ten time. So I'm excited. I hope you are, and you enjoy your weekend. We'll be back with more Locked On UCLA episodes coming up. In the meantime, get your hands up, UCLA fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.